Well, here I am again. I just can't seem to end this series. But I found an article on the web, The Raising of the Dead, Remembering the Center by Moira Timms. That's Moira and then Timms. Now, I'm going to read from her article. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I want to comment on it. But I will put a link to her full article in the portal on the page where you get the links to go to the video. So you'll have it all there. But I wanted to read these pieces and comment on them. Because Egypt is both the center of the Earth's landmass and the place where the Dead originated around the beginning of the present cycle, it is appropriate that the main event of the raising of the Dead occur there. However, readers are reminded that in the holographic model, every sacred site is also the center, as is every individual. The center can also be created wherever you are by invoking and honoring the four directions. I couldn't be more in agreement with this. And remember, we're discussing the Dead as it's several things. One thing it is a braiding, Thoth called it a braiding of the 14 Osirian staffs. And as this braiding occurs, it forms a sephirothic tree, not one that is exactly mirroring the Kabbalic sephirothic tree, but it is essentially the same thing. It is just on a higher frequency. It isn't on a galactic scale. So we have the braiding of the staffs forming the tree. Now, it's often seen incorporated inside the Ankh. In the Ankh, which is, of course, the font of life, but also a deeper level of the Ankh is an X marks the spot for the solar crosses. It's a representation of life streaming through from the solar crosses. And remember, the Osirian staffs, cosmically speaking, are emanations and balancing energies coming from the solar crosses. So to continue with the article, the Dead was the Egyptian symbol of human, planetary, and cosmic stability, continuity, and regeneration. As the cosmic axis, it was the cylinder, the column of light, that linked Earth to the pole star, the still point or stable point of reference around which the heavens revolved. Again, Osiris plants his staff in the ground, and around it revolves the universe. To raise the Dead was also to erect the backbone of Osiris, the lunar underworld god of regeneration. The Dead represented continuity of nature's cycles, as well as ascension and resurrection of the human spirit. At this time in history, as chaos again presses in and the cycle draws to a close, the Dead, as the oldest known type of central world tree, emerges once more into our collective awareness, activating the imagination, appearing in dreams and art as an archetypal image full of mystery and power. It allows the ancient wisdom to work through us, awakening and aligning the divine in each of us with transcendent self in each other. In this way, the many again get to become the one. The Dead is a pillar, a type of the central world tree, representing stability, continuity, and regeneration. And indeed it is, but it's also the braiding of the 14 Osirian cosmic staffs emanating from the the solar crosses. And if you can remember so far back from the first video what the solar crosses are, they are those points where all meet as one, and they come through stages of perspective to us. Okay, so I lost my place. Let me see. Here we are. The festival of the raising of the Djed dates back more than 5,000 years to pre-dynastic times, as does the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which identifies the Djed as both the backbone of Osiris and the support and backbone of the universe. Well, see, there we go into the cosmic staffs. Now, the Djed may, as it is seen and carved and inscripted, may date back only 5,000 years. Actually, it dates back much, much further than that. As a universal cosmic principle, it goes back into Atlantis, and to some extent, it goes into Lemuria or Mu. But Atlantis really kind of made it what it was, and then it was translated into the most ancient times pre-Egypt, but in the Egyptian lands, and then into what we know as Egypt. So really, it goes back far more than 5,000 years. Now, to continue with the article, the Djed, however, is more than just an object. It is a mythic complex that existed long before Osiris emerged from the dark realm of the collective unconscious. Historically, the Djed was raised at crucial transitional times between cycles, evoking light and stability to dispel darkness and disorder. Such periods were the winter solstices, the failing years of a reigning monarch, or the coronation of a new one. However, according to the texts of the Temple of Horus at Edfu, the Djed served its greatest purpose and revealed its greatest mystery at the ending of one world age and the beginning of another. This is such a time. And I totally agree with this. The Djed is the supreme unifying symbol of all polarities, connecting us to the transcendent reality of the whole, the one. It symbolizes the macro and microcosmic axis, and that's what the solar crosses are. As the cosmic axis, the Djed is the cylinder, the column of light linking the Earth to the pole star. It represents stability because it aligns the North Pole of Earth with the still point of the revolving dome of the heavens, the pole star. Beyond the pole star are the realms of the gods, the higher dimensions of being. In the microcosm within us, the human axis is the spinal column, the time tunnel of the transformative journey from the gross materialism of Homo sapiens to the self-realization of Homo Christos at the crown chakra. It is through this chakra that we too are aligned with the energies of the pole star. Yes, absolutely. But of course, the pole star is transient. It's only the pole star for so long. Well, I shouldn't say that, because the pole star changes. The pole star remains, but the star that is the pole star changes. However, to go further than that, the pole star itself is transient, because when we enter our true states of being, there is no pole star. In other words, we start aligning to higher dynamics of the universal being. And the pole star is no longer representing our axis. And we can be still here on this earth in this world system 1. And yet, as our heart becomes world system 2, as our heart becomes ascended, as Thoth calls it, meaning it's moving more into this world system 2 alignments, we start registering beyond the pole star. And this can be happening for all of us right now. Not perhaps in its total sense, completely, but it's starting to happen within us. Apologies, my throat is still not what it should be from the flu I've basically recovered from, but not quite. Okay, continuing. with her text. At a time when the planetary grid, Earth's geometrically arranged energy system web, was understood and, it is believed, consciously administered by a global network of high initiate engineers, the Djed was a sacred instrument in the powerful technology of cosmos regeneration, a domain explored by the work of Reich and Tesla. From the geodetic and astronomic perspective, the raised Djed is the fixed reference point which makes firm the bond between earth and sky, evoking geophysical stability at a time of increased potential for Earth's changes. And as we approach the end of the prophecy sequence in the final 20 years of the current cycle, the Djed replaces the prospect of Earth changes and geophysical pole shift with that of pole stability. The Djed is being raised again globally annually at the winter solstice and various other times, the 1996 spring equinox in particular, until the closing of the cycle in 2012 AD. And I'm wondering how long ago this article was written, because she's indicating is being raised. So this might have been written possibly back in the 90s. I'm not sure. But anyway, it still holds true. Because Egypt is at the center of the Earth's landmass and the place where the Djed originated around the beginning of the present cycle, 3100 BC, it is appropriate that the raising of the Djed be re-inaugurated at its original site in Egypt. However, readers are reminded that did I just read this? I think I might have. I'm going to skip that because it seems to be a repetition. So I'm going to go down to here. In the ancient Egyptian creation myth, the pillar of Shu, god of atmosphere, was the column of light that separated the union of earth and sky, setting them apart and its correct relationship to each other. The dome of the sky overlay the surface of the earth according to the divine blueprint of creation, so that, in the words of Thoth, the great master initiator of light, that which is above is like that which is below. Today, the stars no longer guide our navigation, orchestrate our timekeeping, or pace our planting and harvesting, because we replace them with when we invented the compass, clock, and calendar, to name a few. Over the millennia, we became governed by our own material creations, and our fundamental connection to all our relations within the greater whole was lost. Not only was it lost, it was also forgotten. Although we are now beginning to remember the importance of our connection with the earth, there is only the faintest glimmer of reciprocal connection with the heavens. But it is coming. We are approaching it through astrology, through rediscovering the myths of goddess, god, and celestial archetypes, not to mention the more grounded reality of the space program. Raising the Djed in ceremony with the right consciousness reestablishes the primordial connection between earth and sky, matter and spirit. When we experience our own connection between the two, a resounding yes will synaptically ricochet throughout the global brain, the morphogenetic field of the planet, and the internet. And we must remember my project Silver Lining falls into place here. Our conscious reconnection with the wisdom of our origins and the rediscovery of the archaic celestial terrestrial technologies initiates us into whole consciousness. It is possible that the peoples of prehistory may not have been entirely primitive, but were reduced to grubbing around with stones and living in caves after some great global upheaval obliterated all traces of civilization. The clues lie within the myths of history and within the timeless precincts of sacred rituals preserved by indigenous peoples who know how to access the mind of nature. We know that as the wheel of time revolves, it allows us to recover buried or repressed psychic structures so as to incorporate the recurring patterns of meaning into the present. In this sense, we are reminded that in psychoanalysis, the cure is often associated with the recovery of a forgotten memory. But with cyclical time, it is not memory that calls up the past, but the past itself that returns for healing, completion, and apotheosis. As we prepare to catch the wave of the past, this time around, the image of the Djed and the world tree rise into our collective awareness. Through them, we may enter once more the precincts of the recurrent golden age. The rising of the Djed has been called the mystery of mysteries. It appears to have been a physical ritual with psycho-spiritual and interdimensional implications, which renders it an event of profound significance for our time. Through its enactment, Thoth's words can come alive for us. For performed correctly and in the appropriate geodetic coordinates, it is suggested that the raising of the Djed is instrumental in the periodic historic realignment of planetary and celestial grid meridians. We might also, I'm going to pause just a moment from the text, see that the Djed, according to Thoth, became an instrument, a geomagnetic instrument. So when they raised the Djed, it wasn't just symbolic. They were working with geometric energies. We believe this realignment is an integral part of the formula for the Holon hookup, the matching of our personal and planetary light bodies with the overlighting celestial template. There is cause here for deep reflection and inner questing as we set with the concept, allowing its meaning to percolate throughout the sacred chambers of the heart and the fertile recesses of the collective mind. Osiris let me say that again. Osiris Dejai was a title of Osiris as the Great One, Lord of the universe, the universal self-generating life principle of the center, i.e. the transcendent self. The Dejai were the stable ones, wisdom keepers of one mind and one spirit, who as initiates of Osirian mysteries, comprising the living terrestrial body of the archetypal celestial Osiris. Remember, I read this to you before. This is where I got the link to her article. Contemporary Dejai are self-selected regenerators of cosmos. They are those who, regardless of race or creed, are awakening to mission in service to the planet and the epochal imperatives of stability, continuity, and regeneration. Egyptologist Sir Wallace Budge quotes the ancient expectation that, quote, since Osiris was raised to life by the words and ceremonies which Thoth taught Isis, and since Osiris has gained immortality by means of them, these same words and ceremonies will raise us to life and give us immortality also. The secret books of Thoth containing those formulas no longer exist, but they are deeply encoded within the repository of our collective dreamtime, informing our DNA and waiting like seeds to be activated in due season by the right evolutionary imperative and guiding initiatory archetype. Okay, I'm going to stop for a moment and say that according to Thoth, he never physically wrote any books. They're all in his Akasha of Thoth. However, his scribes did write them, and I kind of think I'm one of those scribes in a sense, in the current age, 20th and 21st century, that in entering the Thoth Akasha and the Thoth streaming, what I bring through is sort of scribing those books, in whatever way that I'm capable of doing that. But in the ancient times, they had the real bona fide scribes that were doing this work for Thoth, and even past his time as Thoth on the planet. So this encoding within the repository of our collective dream time, this is coming directly from the Thothic Akasha, not just from long remembered books that were written and stored away. To continue from this lady's, Moria is her name. I'm sorry, I've already forgotten her name. Oh my goodness, I shouldn't do that to her. Let me see what her name is. Okay, so I can't find it now. Here it is. Moira Timms. And her article is excellent, so I want to remember her name. So here we go, to continue. It is the world soul that the force of history that now calls for and causes the Dejid to be raised, like the flag with its emblem raised aloft in the thick of battle to rally the flagging energies of the army. The Dejid is a beacon raised in the battle for the soul of the planet. And she puts in parentheses, Osiris and Set are added again. And like the warrior heroes who have throughout history stood tall as champions of the many during times of great danger and crisis, the Dejid comes forth that the Dejid may be raised. The Dejai come forth that the Dejid may be raised. The Dejai sense and know Osiris's arising as their own. As Osiris awakens from the sleep of the Aeon, the Dejai also rise to the occasion, moving into resonant relationship as the reconstellated members of the collective Osiris. Therefore, as the mighty bones creak and the ancient ones stir, let the Dejai return. This is the historical moment of our awakening and our call, the impulse and the need for us to ritualize these events in global celebration arise naturally in resonance with the mythic awakening of the archetype, and because it is now alive in each of us. Now we move from the quickening to the gathering. Wow, this is an incredibly powerful article. And I salute Moira Timms in her insights and her cosmic streaming, which obviously she was connecting to when she wrote this. There is an obvious sacred geometry to the Dejid and how it is placed in certain forms. Now, this is on Crystal Links, but it doesn't really give the information on it. It just shows some artworks that are sacred geometry inspired. And here we see the Dejid inside the Ankh, which is really important because the Ankh, according to Thoth, although it is obviously the regenerator of life, it comes from the solar crosses, which are the regenerating sources of all life in the universe. So we see its function embedded here, and there's another there's another staff. You see that on top of it, overlaid on the Dejid, there is a staff. So we have the incorporation of the staff as it is braided into the Dejid as it flows from the divine solar crosses. We have the whole thing registering in this one picture here. Other symbolizations of how the Dejid is worked into different forms. And here it's worked into the form of the solar boat, which floats in the Osirian Sea. So you can see, and Isis has her crown atop that. It's just all flowing together, the spiraling creation. Here we have the Dejid as spirals or forces, basically as staffs, although these are 12 and not 14, coming out of the solar emanations, the zodiac, and so on. Some more imagery here. You can see here how the Dejid, it really is an instrument of some kind in this form. And the fellow whose hands and face have been scratched out here to reduce his power by some other lineage is holding two objects that are activating the Dejid. Here we have the Hathors involved with it, with their little curly stylized horns here. And here we have Anubis, an aspect of Thoth, who is holding the crook and flail, which has another connotation of the staffs of Osiris. And we have the Ankh atop the Djed. So here it's all relationship again is coming together. And so I do think this is probably the very last video in this series, but I think I'm probably going to be doing some other work with the Djed that will be forthcoming in another series or something. Who knows? Who knows? But for now, yes, this is the conclusion. So thank you once again for listening.